Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your educator. I warmly welcome you all on our YouTube platform where we in today's video are going to move forward with the concept of post-structuralism. So if you guys would have visited the previous videos, we tried to cover post-structuralism in the introductory part. Then the second part of the video was, much and more related with the major theorists who have been there, some of the terms that they have coined, and also a major focus and, attention was given to the books, the major works that they have penned down, that they have written, right? So one thing which is important to note down is this in this particular video is that we are going to do a very, very pertinent philosopher, theorist of this particular school known as post-structuralism. So अगर आप लोग को याद होगा हमने पोस्ट स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म के बारे में when we were discussing, I constantly was using the word plurality. I constantly was telling that there should be multiplicity, right? If you haven't watched that video, you can go and watch and revisit those things to note things down. I already told the approach to the students in those videos that especially the major theorists and books wali mein, that you all need to note down the major books of the major theorists who are related to this school or any other school of literary theory if required. Because most of the times what has been the pattern is that majority में questions are asked and they also try to ask questions related to the years of certain important books, some minor books as well from the major theorists, and at times any person who has translated any work and all, and even the chronology. If you visit, you all will know that I already have, and I will keep on mentioning this point out, that from literary theory and from cultural studies, majority में 20-25 questions in one paper in one shift are asked. So you just view it from a lens and see that how important this unit is if, concerned with the term, who coined the term, who was the theorist, any book which was important and all, right? So we now are going to move forward with the concepts and terms which are related to the theorists. So the theorist of note that we are going to do in today's video is none other than Michel Foucault. Now, Foucault was one such person. I'll first of all try to show you the picture. Again, you would have seen the same picture there in the previous videos as well. So, Michel Foucault was one such person, one such theorist who was born in France. Now, why do I keep on telling the names of their birthplaces? Because recently it has been seen that theorists के questions में से they do ask if there's a major theorist like where he was born. So we need to know a little bit tiny detail about that as well. If we are covering the books and all, how can we leave the places that these theorists were born in, right? So we need to know a little bit detail about that. So he was born in France. He was a French literary critic. He was a pertinent, important scholar in the field of post-structuralism. He was one such person who tried to give us terms. So the agenda for this video would be, we are going to talk about the terms, the concepts that Foucault has coined, in which book, if any we know of, in which book that term or concept has been coined, what does that concept or term mean? So bring out your pens, papers, notebooks, etc. because these videos are going to be of very much help to you all, because here you will, be provided with the segregated material according to the course that you are studying, according to the school of literary theory which is concerned, right? So let's just look at the first term or concept that this person, Michel Foucault, has coined is termed as episteme. Episteme is something which, if we literally translate it from its origin, it translates to the word knowledge. So Foucault talks about knowledge, Foucault talks about power, Foucault talks about sexuality, Foucault talks about discourse, and how through the power dynamics that keep on changing, we see that बाकी चीजों में भी there's a gradual shift which occurs. Anyone who would be in power would be in the charge of whatever discourse is going to be spread, be it orally, be it in the written format. right? So one way or the other, through the power, the knowledge would be spread. With the usage, means क्या रहेंगे? Means हमारे written या oral discourses रहेंगे, and the knowledge now would be spread across through the usage of that power that a person, a group, etc. has. Correct? So coming back again, in which book this term was coined? This term was coined in his work, The Order of Things, which was published in the year 1966. It refers to the orderly, unconscious structures underlying the production of scientific knowledge in a particular time and space. Anywhere in paper, if you see that who was a major theorist who tried to talk about the term, power, discourse, episteme and all, it majority of the times it's Foucault. Because through episteme, he will say कि अगर power dynamics change होते हैं, the knowledge also keeps on varying and changing with different times and different spheres, different places as well, right? So epistemological field is what he calls where the possibility for knowledge in a given time and place can be seen. So episteme, knowledge. It literally translates to the word knowledge. And Foucault, tries to deal with this word in a sense कि knowledge जो है, it will be spread according to the power dynamics. I'll keep on saying this same thing, right? Then we have the next word, archaeology of knowledge. Now we all, some of you will be knowing who is an archaeologist, right? So here, if Foucault is talking about the term episteme, which translates as knowledge, he wants to do the study of knowledge in the archaeological sphere. Correct? In which work Foucault in 1960s, he used this sphere, this term, this concept to describe his approach to writing history. How through historical pieces, how through historical discourses we have seen that whatever has been spread, आर्कियोलॉजी स्टडी होती है हिस्ट्री के बारे में, हिस्ट्री के फैक्ट्स फिगर्स को ढूंढने के बारे में, right? So archaeologists क्या करते हैं? They try to dig into the history. But here Foucault tries to dig into the history through an epistemological stance, through an epistemological lens. Right? Archaeology is about examining the discursive traces and orders left by past in order to write history of the present. आज की चीज आज की कैसे है? क्योंकि it has been shaped by the history. Why are we wearing, why are we as Homo sapiens, etc., why have we developed? Because there have been more than other types of different Homo sapiens rahe hain, Homo erectus, etc. There have been different categories of people who have existed before us. So, present is because of the history. This is what Foucault tries to establish कि मुझे history पढ़नी है, how writing has also perceived at that point of time. In other words, archaeology is the understanding of the processes that have led to what we are today. I already gave you an example. If we talk about an early man in the initial stages used to wear only, clothes which were made out of leaves and all. But now we are using fabric. What are we today is been shaped by the history, the processes that have happened, that have led to the development of the things that are present today. This is what Foucault tries to term as archaeology of knowledge. कि knowledge के through भी कई चीजें कैसे वो develop हुई हैं, how the traces have been there, how are we and where are we at, and what what's the reason behind that. Correct? Then we have the works that have such archaeological stances in Foucault's work are Madness and Civilization, 1971, The Archaeology of Knowledge, the name of the book is same, 1972, The Birth of the Clinic, 1989, right? In these works, we see that the approach that he's using is digging into the history again and again and try to see it from a writing discursive practices. Well, then we have the next very interesting term by Foucault, which he termed as Panopticon. This was not his original idea, of course. Where did he take the idea from? It is connected to Michel Foucault, but originally conceptualized by the British utilitarian philosopher Jeremy Bentham. And why have I drawn these lines? These are parallel lines. Jeremy Bentham has tried to draw a parallel, and he has tried to talk about that we want a structure of a modern prison. So what did he suggest? He suggested a panopticon. Now first of all, let me show you all the image of a panopticon. This is what a panopticon is. Jeremy Bentham ने बोला था that we will create in the cell, in the modern prison, we will try to create something like a modern prison. And what will we do here? If you guys can clearly see, we have these cells, these small cells, जिसमें कैदी रहेंगे, right? Where the prisoners will be staying, and here in this tower, who would be the person in charge? The person here, any jailer would be staying, who would try to keep an eye on each and every prisoner here. Now, the jailer from here can view any person, any prisoner from his tower, but on the other hand, if we try to look at the other's point of view, the prisoners will not be able to see if they are being the one who are under surveillance. So constantly उनके माइंड में ये चीज रहेगी कि मे बी हम लोग को कोई हमारे ऊपर सर्वेलेंस रख रहे हैं, तो we should behave like we have some discipline, right? Because of course, why are you put in prison? So that you will, start living a disciplined life. You start changing your ways, correct? This is what, was taken up later by Foucault from Bentham, that we need a panopticon kind of thing. So I hope this thing is clear, right? So yahan se, of course, the jailer can view, but the prisoners cannot view who is watching them. So they try to maintain some sort of discipline and all, correct? So his exploration of surveillance and discipline is seen through this concept that he's tried to deal with. In his work, Discipline and Punish, this particular term has been used, panopticism, panopticon, etc. Right? The architectural layout involved a central tower that I just showed you, surrounded by a ring of cells. The interior of each cell was visible. जो टावर में खड़ा है उसको सेल का इंटीरियर दिखेगा. He will be able to see, he or she will be able to see कि अंदर जो कैदी है वो क्या कर रहे हैं. But the कैदी on the other hand will not be able to see who is watching them. So they'll try to behave in much and more disciplined manner, right? But the inside of the tower remained unseen from any cell, correct? So this is what a panopticon looked like. Then the term power and knowledge, they are used simultaneously because he has tried to maintain a point of view that with power, he tried to say that with power comes knowledge. Knowledge is power, power is knowledge is what Foucault was meaning when he said this statement, right? So he has tried to tell us two things, ki power or knowledge, how is it spread? It can be spread through the discursive practices. Now in discursive, what are the things where language and communication is, related? Written discursive courses ho gaye, written discourses ho gaye, oral discourses ho gaye, they are discursive. Non-discursive mein, what do we have here? Not solely dependent on language, but other non-communicable things like हम लोग एक दूसरे से बात नहीं कर रहे, maybe we are using gestures and all to communicate something. That is something which is non-discursive, right? So Foucault said knowledge and power, they both come with the combination of discursive as well as non-discursive, that is written or oral form of things which are not usually using language, at times might or might not be using the language, correct? So he says that with the amalgamation, with the mix of the discursive and non-discursive practices that a person does, usse kya hota hai? The production of knowledge and the operation of power in shaping societal practices and individual experiences. अब क्या होगा? जो production होगी knowledge की, वो कैसे होगी? How? He will say, अगर कोई भी इंसान, let's just take me for example. Right? Whatever I will say as a teacher or any teacher for that matter, you will try to make notes from here. Correct? So that is something which from an authoritative figure is being spread. It could be spread through my bodily gestures. It could be spread through me writing down on the board. So power के साथ knowledge जो है वो spread होती है. This is what he has tried to mean, right? And that power, that knowledge could be in the form of either discursive or non-discursive practices, forms, formats, etc. Right? So then he also tried to give us another term which is known as sexuality. This was not a term given by Foucault, but as a concept it has been dealt with very beautifully by him. Now let me just give you one thing correctly here. According to Foucault, he said that from the very beginning, sexuality is something which is written on the body. A very powerful statement. Let's just try to read it from here first of all. What is sexuality? A person's essential identity. What do I identify as? Am I a man, woman, or a third gender, or so on and so forth, right? So what is my identity? Who do I identify with more? That is what is known as sexuality. Foucault uses it in his work, History of Sexuality. Sexuality, he says, is linked to power structures, discourses and societal regulations. शुरू से बोल दिया जाता है that men are supposed to behave in a certain manner, women are supposed to behave in a certain manner, so on and so forth. So if you're born, why did he say that it is written on the body? If you're born with the sexuality, with the looks, etc. of a female, you might be expected by the other gender to perform the duties which are just related to, बच्चों को पालना है, खाना बनाना है, etc. This is what Foucault tries to. So he says that even in the previous times when there was no concept like that, when it started developing, patriarchal society was there. And the way they have conditioned things, the way they have moved things forward, वो उस तरीके से हमें देखने के लिए मिलता है कि sexuality भी as a concept उन्हीं power structures की वजह से it has been changed, it has been shifted, right? He tries to challenge the traditional notions and emphasizes its dynamic, socially constructed nature. He wants to challenge, why is sexuality written on the body? Why is a woman always associated with being a homemaker, a housewife, someone who is even working, taking care of the children? And why men are always shown as they can't cry, they are very strong and all. ठीक है? तो sexuality को he tries to, the traditional notions, Foucault tries to challenge. That's why he talks about this concept in a greater detail in his work, The History of Sexuality, which came in 3 volumes. I have already discussed the same in the previous lectures. You can visit them again, right? So with this, we are done with Foucault, and I hope things are clear. The major things, concepts he is associated with: power, knowledge, sexuality, archaeology of knowledge, right? He is also associated with episteme, discourse जो हमने discursive और उसमें बात कर ली, discourse either in the written format or in the oral format, right? So I hope things are clear to you all. I'll see you guys again with a new theorist, with some important terms again, important concepts again in another video. Thank you so much. Keep on studying. Have a good day. Bye-bye.